Okay, wonderful. So I guess with that, we can move on to new business. And sorry, first thing on new business is the current status of the web page rollout. Is Mallory on the call?
I'm here, yes.
Oh, okay, awesome. Can you give us a current status on the web page rollout?
So I sent the updates. I heard back late Friday from the vendor that they had a few questions. So I'm working on that. I have to go review what they are unsure of regarding the changes, and then they should be able to make those within a couple of days, and we should have the site pretty much ready to go then. So I'm just trying to get caught up. It's been a very hectic August. So that's on my priority list for this week.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're saying in a couple of days getting ready to go, but I thought that we were going to have the opportunity to kind of test the page before it fully launched.
Well, yes, and everyone had that opportunity. We did send that link out to you guys. I can send it again as well, but nothing as far as the functionality really has changed. The only thing that would change now is that they would activate the plugins. So once I get to talk with her again, our vendor Annalise, I'll have a better idea.
Okay.
I didn't get the link, so I would like for you to send that back out if you could, please. I sometimes don't get them when everybody else does. I apologize, but I did not receive it. I would love to look at it.
We got it like months ago, but we didn't get anything recently that I'm aware of.
They've been making changes. So yeah, nothing major has changed. It's basically just content updates.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got that link months ago too. I know the next thing on the agenda is the online tutoring, but I'm hoping that we can, if it's all right with everyone, that we can bump up our guest speaker since it was short notice and I don't know how long he can stay in the meeting. So if that's okay with everyone, I would like to bump him up.
Absolutely.
Great. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes. How's everyone doing? Good to see some familiar faces.
Arande, let me introduce you for the group. And this is something group that I've been talking with Indira about for like several weeks or a month now. You know, as she brought to our attention the demand or potential demand for some physical activity for the kids right now, since they're going through the online school and maybe not getting a chance to have their PE classes or their outdoor classes. And my understanding from Indira and from speaking to the other parents around is that there's a pretty good sized demand to provide some sort of physical education class for kids right now while they're in the online school. So we've had a little bit of a back and forth with Dr. Rosado about how we could achieve that. And I think at some point we would ask for an update probably from Mario as to what the conversations have been with the school board, but it looks like there might be some hurdles on that side. So Arande had reached out to me saying that he is providing these type of classes, and you know, he's part of the group that has been providing some of the services at the school, extracurricular services at the school through the Children's Trust and alongside also our police program. So I thought it would be a good idea consulting with Indira to bring him to the table to just have a conversation with the Resident Services Board about the feasibility of providing this. And from my side, you know, I'm ready to fund, and we've got some money still for after school activities we didn't spend due to COVID. You know, we would be ready to go on this as soon as you all want to make a recommendation to staff to move forward with providing something. So, you know, I wanted to bring Arande to have the conversation and introduce him, you know, under those circumstances. Welcome, Arande.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Latham, and thank you to the rest of the group for giving me a couple of minutes to jump on and really just talk about some potential strategy to, you know, to help in what we consider a very serious and serious mission that that we've done a lot to try to take care of since COVID kind of broke throughout the country in March. We were actually asked by the head of the foster care department, Citrus Family Care Network, to come in right before spring break to do some activity for some kids in some shelters. And what happened, obviously, when the whole nation shut down, that spring break idea turned into about, now I think we're going on maybe 17 weeks of working with those kids in a couple of different shelters. And what our whole process has been about is about doing activities outside in small groups and keeping kids in the safest distance possible. Nothing is foolproof right now through this pandemic, we know, but the safest thing that the CDC guidelines and the health officials state is to be outside and trying to keep distance. So some of the things that we offer is soccer, dance, yoga, basketball, football drills, volleyball. And again, this is all an effort to keep the kids moving and active. One of the worst things about this pandemic for all of us, including our children, is the health effects of sitting around. People are gaining weight, and it's also emotionally and mentally unhealthy, to be inside in front of a screen all day without any outlet. So, we would be happy to discuss any options to to assist. Like Mayor Latham said, we've done some things in the community there in North Bay Village. We had a great time. We worked with some wonderful people. Mrs. Priscilla right there on the screen. She worked with us with our fun day at Treasure Island Elementary, and so that's what we do. That's the biggest, like I said, the biggest part of our mission, to help kids have fun while we combat these unhealthy means in a very tough time. So with that said, we would love to discuss any options on how we can help in North Bay Village.
So I have questions. Obviously, I think as a parent, anyone is going to be asking, like, what are the safety precautions that are going to be taken? Like, what activities do you have in mind where the kids are still maintaining social distance? Would they have to wear a mask? Like, how do you envision it?
So, of course, those are absolutely great questions. The kids will definitely wear masks. We do temperature checks when kids come in before they're allowed to be a part of the activity. We sanitize the equipment that we use. And what we try to do is set up groups where the kids stay in the same cluster, so to speak. So if it's 6 or 8 kids that come to do a soccer session, if they rotate another day and come do volleyball, we would prefer to keep those kids in the same session. And, as I mentioned, being outdoors is the safest, part of the environment. It's still obviously not foolproof, but we try to make sure that the kids, keep from being, in close contact. Now we know, just being realistic, that's not totally foolproof, because kids, they'll run up to you and just grab you and hug you. It's just, that's just what kids do. But but we try to make sure that we stay on top of them, being mindful of what this virus is about, when they're out in our drills. And so as I mentioned, we're working with the foster care shelters. We were there for a long time without any kids that we know of, at least, contracting or passing any the virus at all through our activities.
And your activities that you mentioned were soccer? Is that what you have in mind?
No, so we not only soccer is a big part of it, but soccer, volleyball, basketball, football, dance, yoga. We also have a capoeira teacher. I'm definitely brutalizing that name, but it's Brazilian.
Capoeira.
Yeah, so forgive me, but that's Brazilian martial arts. And we can offer more, but we definitely have a variety for, what boys typically like, what girls typically like. And obviously, they're welcome to participate, in any one or multiple of those sports.
What's the capacity? What would be the max?
Well, that all depends. The larger number, obviously, we would have to have more activity going, and we would have to spread them out, throughout the field. So if it was 30 kids there, we definitely want to keep the groups under 10. So, 6 or 8 in a group. And,
So this is going to be happening simultaneously, like different, like.
yeah, well, some of them will be simultaneously, but we may do 1 hour with 3 sports and then the next hour with 3 different sports, or 1 hour with 3 sports and then another group coming in to those same sports the next hour. So, we can bracket it.
So when
to
you
do-
say like basketball, soccer, volleyball, I'm assuming it won't be like team play. Otherwise they would touch, right? If they were actually playing a game. So will they be like shooting hoops, shooting goals?
Exactly. So no, what we propose are drills. We propose drills. If you have brothers and sisters that live in the same house and they want to do something competitive, that's something that, the parents could let us know they're okay with, but typically what we're talking about is drills. And again, to keep them moving,
Right.
just for example, we were away from one of the shelters that we work with for about a month, and we came back and there were several kids there who, gained, like noticeably gained 10 to 15 pounds, just because they were just sitting around and not without much to do. So
Right.
it's important that we just keep them moving, and it's fun. The activities are fun.
And as far as your staffing, the ones that would be running these games, what kind of precautions or steps do you take to make sure that your staff stays healthy that's helping run these?
Yeah, same thing. Our staff has been tested. No one has come up positive throughout our entire program. But we do the same thing. They would be temperature checked. They would be required to wear a mask, and we would keep our distance, even out on the field. There's really no reason if you're barking out instructions to be that close to any of the participants. So.
How soon, assuming, right, that it can all happen, how soon could it happen? And is there someone already that you have available? And would this be something where parents can drop off their kids, or do they have to stay there?
Okay, so yes, parents could definitely drop their kids off. If they choose to stay, they would have to find a distance on the field where they're away from everybody else that's present in the activity. And we have a group in place already. As I mentioned, we've been doing this, for maybe 4 months. And that's another great question you asked, because right now, due to the start of school, we're actually, doing some programming for outdoor activity for a couple other different foster care locations. So it's important for us from an organizational standpoint to be able to schedule a rotation of coaches if we are going to do activities in North Bay Village, to include that into the rotation of coaches. And we would basically have, let's say soccer, for instance, he may be there twice a week in North Bay Village, and then at one of the shelters another 2 days a week. But for our entire team, we will be rotating to the different locations.
So this would be happening twice a week? It would be available twice a week?
For now, that's what Mayor Latham and I discussed. And, that's something that's, we still have to figure out in terms of what budgeting looks like, and, what it would require to get more activity. So right now, if you look at paid programs, most parents, well, I won't say most parents, I'll just give you some of the numbers that I know of. Some groups parents are working and having their kids stay in small groups, and they're doing programming where they go pay, $20 a day. And so if they do it, 5 days a week, they pay about $100 a week, for outdoor programming. Now we're not, expecting anywhere near that type of number to come, from this group, but that's, kind of what's going out, what the going rate may be, at least in this area. So to come out a couple of times a week, based on the preliminary discussions that Mayor Latham and I have had, that would fit to what we spoke on. But to add a day or a couple additional days. I don't know, what you guys' thoughts would be, but potentially ask the parents to maybe pay $20 for the entire week or $30 for the entire week, where they can get 3 or 4 days instead of just 2 days. So those are,
If I may, Madam Chair, I think that's part of the discussion that should be had is what's the need. One thing I was telling Aranda when I was talking to him on the phone, because he's asking me all the right questions about how many kids and how many times per week, and I really don't know. So that's why I figured I'd bring him to you guys and sort of try to hash that out. The first question is, do we want a service to try to put together a service like this? Number two is what are the logistics of it? Where can we actually do it? What sort of legal permissions do we need? And I know Aranda had mentioned to me that he even has some waivers and forms, and we could consider, if we can't do it at the schoolyard, we could consider using Vogel Park, but we have to talk with the administration to figure out what works best, and then hash out, what do the residents actually want in terms of the coverage? Is it a 1 hour session a couple times a week for a PE course? Is it, is there a demand for an all day thing or several hours? I don't know. That's something that would be an interesting thing to discuss and figure out, how you do it. And then where we go from there. And I have a budget, like I said, to place towards this. It's not going to cover, an all day daycare thing, but if that's something that residents want and can be worked out with the space and the legal needs, then maybe we could work out some sort of copay or something like that. So it's all on the table. We just want to provide whatever is best for the residents to help everyone get through this period, which, after the first 2 days of school, I can firsthand tell you it's not so easy, so whatever we can do to help. Oh man. Yeah.
So I definitely don't foresee an all day thing, mostly because it's outdoors and this is Florida. And I just cannot, I wouldn't want my kid to be outdoors all day in Florida. But I definitely would want to reach out to the parents in our community in terms of doing something 2 times a week for like an hour, because I know that can be very helpful for a lot of working parents to just be able to block out uninterrupted work time, even if it's just an hour. So everything else in terms of safety you have in place. Yeah, so those are all thank you so much for coming and answering all our questions. But Lydia, do you have questions?
Yeah, well, thank you guys again, for having me, and just, to be clear, we wouldn't be able to offer anything except for after school activities. And what Mayor Latham is speaking to in terms of the options on the table, it would be more about if you guys would want us to be there 3 or 4 days as opposed to only 2 days. So those would be the things that, would need to be ironed out within the plan and schedule. But again, we're excited about doing it. And, I'm pretty sure, I would even say I'm 100% sure that we could work something out because we love being out there. It's a big part of our passion. I grew up playing sports, and, the other people in the group may know this about me, but my father was murdered when I was 6 in Detroit. And, my coaches, football coaches and basketball coaches, they became, kind of a lifeline to see me through, my childhood, and without them, I wouldn't be here today. So, we really take it, personal, to have not just a fun time, but to reshape minds and to inspire kids, and to just use sports as a vessel, to encourage young people, along the way. So we would be thrilled to help out there. So just let us know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for offering that.
Thank you.
And Mayor Latham, again, I know that you had some programming in the budget for after school programs, and I'm more than happy to help contribute to that too, so that maybe we can kind of continue it on as long as we possibly can. But I do think it would be interesting to kind of see how many kids would want to be able to sign up, what type of infrastructure we need to be able to do, and also the legality aspects of that, making sure that we just have the proper waivers signed.
Yeah, no, we asked, I believe, I can't remember if I was even at the last resident services meeting, but I believe there was a request to staff to look into this and see where we were. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
There was, yeah. Dr. Rosado was going to look into the legalities of it all.
Maybe we could ask for an update from staff if that's been done in the meantime.
Excuse me, guys, and I'll also share our COVID waiver too. We have a very detailed COVID waiver, so I'll send that over. So your legal
Oh,
team.
perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be very excited to be able to offer that for the kids because I would love to see something where we can do that because when we did the basketball program, there were so many kids that really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I know the chief, was talking about it even the next day because the kids were just so energetic. And I'd love to be able to, help with the pent up energy that these kids have from being inside all the time.
So I'll leave
Madam
it.
Chair, if I may.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes.
One of the things that we'll definitely need is a full written proposal of the programs that we offered, and how the COVID restrictions for summer camps or after school camps, as guidelined by the new normal by the county, how those are being met in a written format, because we would have to submit that to the district for them to approve the activity. So once we have everything written out, project scope, how we're meeting the guidelines and all that, I can then send that over to the district for them to approve.
Madam Chair, can I make an interjection? I think
Yes.
if I would suggest to the board, and I do want to say Aranda and I go back, and he's a wonderful man and provides great services, and he was the one to call me saying, can we help out when he found out that we might need somebody. But this isn't by way of promoting Aranda and his group. If there's if there are other services to be provided, we need to follow our procurement guidelines or what have you. So this is in the name of expediting a service that parents might need at this time. And along those lines, in terms of parents might need at this time, I mean parents might need like at this time. So I think in terms of sending things to the school board and getting it back, absolutely we need to do that, et cetera, but that we know that's very time consuming, and it sounds like it hasn't been embarked upon in the interim since the last meeting. So if that's the case, I would actually suggest that maybe, and the Resident Services Board determines that this is a service that's needed, maybe we could consider using Vogel Park in the meantime for a certain amount of kids, while we're waiting to get back from the school board, because I wouldn't want to wait a month or two to provide this service. Right now, as a parent, I can tell you, and Mario, this is when the kids are at home, sort of needing that energetic outlet, being stuck at home doing the virtual classes. So if this is something there's demand for and you guys think we should go ahead with, I think we should figure out how to make it happen, sooner rather than later.
Madam
And I
Chair, if I
think,
may,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
may I say a couple things?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, thank you. Just real quick, and Commissioner Strout mentioned this, and obviously Mayor Latham was talking about other programs. Amy has had a very successful basketball skills program that we were in the middle of, unfortunately, when the whole COVID thing hit. And if anybody ever went out, and we always look for volunteers, obviously the police go out there and volunteer to help these kids. It is very popular, it's very well attended. The kids play for 2 hours nonstop. The problem that we would have right now is the throngs of kids that were coming out. We could not accommodate that many kids playing together because it would talk about a contact sport. I mean, I was beat up by the time I finished playing with those kids. So we need to, and I'm all in favor. The more programs that we can offer our kids here, the better. As Kevin can attest to, and members of the board can attest to, we attended a PAL executive board meeting where I became a member of the board, and we opened up programming with the, we were eventually, I guess, given a title of the North Bay Village branch of the Miami Beach PAL. They opened up everything from boxing to football for kids, tackle football, all the facilities, anything they had to offer that was made available to the kids here in North Bay Village. The problem is obviously the logistics of transportation, getting there and things of that nature. So Amy and I also came up with some plans to use our own PAL, if you will, budget to do flag football skills. And also Amy was going to do some cheerleading as well in the fall, where football season basically lines up with. So yeah, the more we can offer the kids here, the more activities. I coached for 17 years in an Optimist club, all three of my kids, and everything from baseball to basketball to soccer to football to cheerleading and travel sports. So I know how important that is for kids, not just for their physical well-being, also their social, mental well-being, developing that interaction with other kids. Obviously, like I said before, we do have the challenge of COVID, but I'm all in favor of bringing whatever we can. But we did have programming going on when COVID came up, and we still have the challenge of getting clearance by the school board to use their field and their facilities, whether it's basketball or soccer or kickball or anything else that we want to do. Amy, are you on? Amy Suarez? Amy, you want to chime in on any of this?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everybody.
Amy.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
So there's a lot going on over at the school, with all the technical issues that they've been having as far as trying to get on, just to do basic education right now. But I have spoke with Valar and I spoke with her bosses, and the school is not ready to allow anybody to use any part of their school right now. But I did speak with Valar again today, and they are going to make an announcement on the 29th, perhaps opening up some of it so we can use it. But I will agree there is a huge need for the kids to do some sort of activity. The only issue we have right now is the location. I don't really foresee any place that would be great for us to do it other than the school. Even Paul Vogel Park, it has a lot of potholes in the grass and stuff. So that would be a little bit of an issue for the kids to play. And also it's not very big. So right now we're kind of like stuck.
Well, one activity that Paul Vogel has worked for in the past has been yoga. I know that's not maybe one of the most favorite for the children or the most energetic, but we've done yoga successfully, with the village before there.
If it's just about the kids getting out and doing some sort of physical activity, but not having like a close or whatnot, we could even look into something like doing a bike ride. And we could do that in the back of the school. We could do it through the parking lot around the loop, and no close activity, plenty of space for the kids to ride their bike. It's a little bit of activity. They won't be very close. There'll be no contact. So there are other options we could look at if we really want the kids out and about right now.
You guys mind if I jump back in real quick?
Yes, please.
So one of the first things that Chief Noriega should have mentioned is about how well he could shoot a jump shot. See, he didn't tell y'all about his 3-pointer. He didn't mention that. And Officer Amy, she's been wonderful anytime we've come to North Bay Village in terms of trying to, to get programs implemented. She's been an awesome resource to us. So, really our role in anything we do is to try to stand in the gap of what's not there. So for the programs that are there, what's already offered, we would definitely want to try to supply, anything around that. And it's interesting, you mentioned yoga, like working with the foster care shelter, we got boys bigger than me that love yoga. Like they cannot wait till our yoga instructor arrives. They're running out there. So I think that they're just, added strength and variety. Some kids don't want to touch a basketball. You know, some kids, football is all they want to do. You know, so the more we can add, you know, it's just an opportunity to get kids involved and included in something that they may attach themselves to. But that's really all we would want to do is to come try to be a help for what's not there. And that's really everybody's obstacle anywhere we go is the field space. And, you know, that's why the foster care network that we work with has been a good partnership for us, because they have their own fields, they have their own surfaces. So we don't have to go through, you know, the cities to, you know, to be in place there. But yeah, we would love to just add anything we can. And Chief Noriega and Officer Amy have been great with us, you know, in the past. So it would be awesome if we could help.
Just to reiterate, the more the merrier, the more activities and more options kids have to do physical activities. That's important. Like I said, for everything from their physical well-being to socializing to developing friendships, it's important. So I think it's a great idea across the board.
If I may, I just to understand this, I think I just heard Officer Suarez say that the school board will be making an announcement at the end of the month, September 29th, as to what activities will be allowed on school grounds. Did I hear that correctly?
Carvalho said that on the week of September 29th through October 5th, he will be making a decision on whether or not he is going to continue with the virtual or if he's going to start opening it up for in person.
Okay, but as far as we know then at the moment, we don't have access to the Ties field. It doesn't seem like there are any activities going on there, whether they're from PAL or the school or Optimist or anyone, which is what, yeah. And I think the big issue,
Kevin, we do have a standing agreement to access the Ties field, and it's open.
Right, but I'm just, yeah, I'm sorry, maybe I wasn't clear. It doesn't seem like we have anything though going on right now with the Ties field.
That's
yeah. And it seems to me like the urgent question here is getting the kids active throughout September. I mean, they've been cooped up. They love the virtual camp. Brent, I entirely get what you're talking about. I did day 2 of the schooling today. And I I'm waiting to get to a whiskey because day 3 looks like it's going to be just as much fun. But the kids need to get out now and quickly. And it seems to me like what we have is, even if it's an imperfect solution of using Vogel Park too exploratory on the part of the new dog park that is not for dogs. There's a whole section there that I think that kids could do. I think we've got the circumstance where the kids need to get out. So I'm very much in favor, of course, of seeing that. That's a long way for me to say I'm very much in favor of this. But if we wait, if we are sending contracts back and forth and approvals, no, it's going to be the end of October. The school board right now, if they are dealing with anything other than their communications problem, the whole school district needs to be fired because they're going to have time for this. And if we can accomplish it as a city, I think we got to do something, and we should have it done by next week. Okay,
Thank you.
I'm gonna stop talking now.
That was sort of why I wanted to bring Arande today, because here's and also with our officer Amy, we have the solution, we have the money. My question to you guys is there demand for this? And I'm ready to make this happen now, because like Kevin so eloquently said, now's the time when the kids need it, not a month or 2 from now. And we have we have the school field. If it turns out we can't use that, we have Vogel Park. Let's make it happen. I mean, we can find a million reasons why it's not perfect, but the kids, get out and play. And
Well, Brent, the biggest problem that we had was at the last resident service meeting was liability, a concern about liability, and bringing Arande in today. It seems like they have a lot of the waivers in place, the organization there that might help cover the city and could mobilize fast. but it just doesn't seem like maybe we got answers on, or maybe we weren't organized enough in our questioning on what we needed to do to mobilize faster to make sure the city's protected. So, I mean, are the waivers, will that cover the city that you have, Arande?
That's something that would have to be discussed with you guys' legal team. I mean, we're fully insured, and we do have, like I said, a detailed waiver, which is basically making the parents aware of the impact of COVID, but at the same time, you know, having them take accountability themselves for, you know, for their kids' participation. So instead of us or the school. But again, that's something, you know, that will have to be determined by the legal team.
So you
Also-
can,
Also,
sorry.
Sandra, I'm sorry. Also, Sandra, for the virtual summer camp, we had a legal packet drawn up through the city attorney that went through the whole, all the way down to the chief, and then we gave it to the parents to sign. So we do have some legal forms already that we can use if we need, that have already been approved.
So I have a question. Can we use a ties field now with Amy's program, or do we have to get permission for that also?
We have to get permission for that, and facility management has shut down everything. You can't even turn in forms right now. They don't want any sort of group activities back there.
Okay, so all we have is Vogel Park to use right away. We cannot, she said.
They don't, yeah, no, they do not want any sort of group activities. You know, one-on-one is something different. Like if you want to throw the ball with your kid, that's something different. But anything more than that, the school board is not allowing it.
So all we have is Vogel Park at the moment that we can use immediately.
Vogel Park, and over at Schoenberger by the dispatch, if you've been to that, the tot lot on the west side, there's a relatively nice sized grassy patch there that you could, you know, use for whatever you might need, maybe 6 or 8 kids.
Next to the parking lot there, you mean?
If you go to where Public Works is, and then you have the police department building, and then the tot lot, so, or Pirates Park. So to the left of where the equipment is, there's a nice sized grassy area there.
okay, so what action
I would like
items?
to propose a
and-
motion.
Yeah,
Okay, I would like to see the city move ahead to contract as soon as possible for these activities. Actually, I probably shouldn't have proposed the motion because I also want to make a statement. We talked about this in August. I have no idea why we are sitting here in September, a month later, and what we're hearing is, oh, maybe there's a legal issue. Maybe we have to go through here. It's just time to act. If it turns out you have to close down a lane of street and teach the kids how to play stickball, you know, I'll volunteer to coach that. But we got to get something moving here, people. And so I vote that the city go forward, I guess, with all dispatch to have this in place no later than, I'll pick a date. Okay, let's say September 10. Is that when the next commission meeting is?
the
Next
next,
commission is September 10th.
September 10th, yeah. By September 10th to have the full proposal ready to go for the commission for immediate start.
I,
That was really long, but
I
Hey,
second that motion.
thanks. This doesn't need to go to commission. I mean, we're not talking about significant amount of money and it's already budgeted.
okay. Well, Mario, how fast do you think the city could come back with this?
If we're using Vogel Park, that takes away a lot of the issues with requesting
assuming.
the information from the district. So it comes down to working with I'm sorry, Orlando. No, not Orlando. I apologize. Working with
Arande.
him to make sure he's got the program we go under. Because it's a very unique service, I believe that there is a way around the procurement concerns that were brought up earlier, because it is professional services, if anything, and there is a way And within a certain threshold, we are able to just enter in that. We can do that without any problems. So it's just getting everything organized and seeing what the waivers, and then having them add the village as an additional insured into their insurance. And then from that point on, it's just, I think once the program's up and running and those details have been worked out, it's just starting it.
And so my next question is how will we handle signups? Because obviously you have to, limit the numbers that come. So how will we handle the signups?
Initially, we could just do it through email, but we can also create a registration portal.
That would be great. Probably registration portal where they can right then sign whatever waiver you have in place. That would be fantastic.
No, absolutely. That's part of what we do. We'll create a registration portal for signups, and but just from an email standpoint, to get an initial list, notifying parents, it is going to be a cutoff. We can't, it's going to be a maximum number that we can allow. So, but yeah, we'll definitely start working on a registration portal right away. And
how would it be announced though?
Oh, we can do that through social media, through newsletters, WhatsApp groups.
I have a question.
We can do a parent link from Valar to all the students at TIES.
Awesome.
So are we going to do Arande and Amy, like a combination, or what are we going to do?
The problem I'm hearing is that it's going to take longer for the police to activate because of the legalities and liability with the city. Is that correct? Am I hearing it correctly, Amy?
Not only just the legalities with the liability, but more importantly, because that's usually taken care of fairly quickly. More importantly, it's working out all those agreements that would be needed with the district. And as Mr. Verifar had mentioned earlier, right now their focus is definitely going to be on making sure that their systems are operating, not approving the various programs that we're putting out. So we can definitely get all of that in motion, but they're going to request a written proposal for all of those things. And I know that is something Officer Suarez had already been working on in the past, and she was going to update it so that we can kind of move that forward. But if there's any other programs not PAL related, because we kind of already have that, but not PAL related, we would need a formal written proposal from those organizations so that they can be approved. That proposal can be approved by the district.
Okay, so are we going to propose to the district Arande and PAL? I'm still not clear.
Correct. Yes.
Let's say yes, absolutely.
Okay, so in the meantime, we're going to start with Arande, correct? Now, is the PAL going to do anything also simultaneously?
I will leave that to Chief Noriega and Officer Suarez if they can do something at Vogel or the Tot Lot. And in the meantime,
I'll get with Amy and see if we have I know Amy was thinking about doing a kickball program, but I don't think we have the space in Vogel, but we can certainly do calisthenics or something like that. We will come up with an option on our side as well to see if we can get, like Kevin said, the kids doing something ASAP.
Yeah, because pretty much the kids hear Amy and they come running, so that would be helpful.
Yep.
Arande, I have a question for you. Knowing the limitations, since we will not be able to turn around the school district quickly, do you know our geography well enough to know if Vogel Park, if the area around the Tot Lot, if you can come up with activities that will fit in those?
I'm not necessarily familiar with Vogel Park. I'm sure I've been by there because I used to live right by North Bay Village. But what I'll do, I'll ride by as soon as tomorrow to take a look at it. But with the thought in mind that we're just doing drills, like we're not having real football games or soccer matches, a small portion of a field, I'm almost certain we'll be fine. But I'll go check it out tomorrow.
Okay.
And guys, again, thank you for having me. I got to jump on the church call, so I got to run. But like I said, I know several of the wonderful people here on this call, so I look forward to following up, and anything else that we can do to help. Just please let us know.
Aronde, just before you go, can you just make sure that you email Mayor Latham the waiver that you have in place so that he can share that with us? That would be great.
Absolutely, and we'll also get started on the
Portal.
the added insured and on the portal as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna send Aronde's information to everyone and get out of the middle, because I'm not interested in being in between an extra leg in the process. So I'll share it with everyone and get out of the way.
All right.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that. Next, we have the online tutoring program that was proposed by PAL, Chief Noriega.
Yeah, I've got Amy, you're still on, right? Because Amy basically has several tutors that she had as part of her summer camp program that are ready, willing, and able to put on to do this service. There is a charge, and she has a couple of different options on how to go ahead and get donations for that. And we also have, talking to some of you folks, including Kevin, interest in volunteers from the community to do that. There is a process that we have to vet all the tutors by. Amy has given me a list of, or a checkoff list for that process, and I'll let her present if she's on the phone still or on the call.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
So the tutoring program, obviously, we're going to need it with all this virtual. They're not getting the education like they would in person. So they're definitely going to need the tutoring. So with the tutoring, we have two options. Either we can do a volunteer program, or we can do a paid program. Like the chief said, the paid program, I do have people that are able and willing, but the funding is the issue. So in order to do this program, we are looking at an 8-week program. The kids would have a tutor twice a week for an hour a day. So the program would essentially be $240, and depending on the subject and the age of the kids, it could range from 4 to 8 in a group. With the volunteer, so there would be a couple of requirements. Obviously, they would have to do a level 2 background check. There's also some forms from the school. I know we're not actually going to be on school grounds, but there are going to be some forms since we are dealing with the kids. We would prefer bilingual only because of our very large Latin population. And we would ask that the people who are volunteering, that they give us at least an hour and a half to 2 hours twice a week for the entire 8 weeks. We also can set up through the Miami Foundation a way for people to donate to get the paid ones. So we can do either which way or a combination of both.
Obviously the bilingual volunteers, that's obviously a preference, but not a requirement. A volunteer is a volunteer. We'll match them up with the right students.
Yes, and we also require that they have at least a high school diploma or equivalency.
So this, you said an 8-week program,
Yes.
twice a week for
Twice a
1
week.
hour for each session.
Yes.
And that would be 240, and it potentially will be 4 to 8 students per group.
Yes.
And if we went with volunteers, could you just go over that? You would expect them or ask them to commit 2 times per week?
2
1
times
hour?
per, yes, 2 times per week, give or take 5 or 10 minutes, but yes, an hour twice a week for an 8-week program. Only because we don't want to pair someone up with a tutor, they do it for a couple weeks and then they're, it's not for me. And then they get a new tutor. It's going to be very hard on the kids.
Got it.
But I can tell you, I do have 2nd and 3rd year college students that are all bilingual that I've already spoke to, and they are more than willing to help. They would even be willing to do like a combination, like they get paid for half, they volunteer half. So We could work it out a bunch of different ways.
And the
And-
240 is for the entire 8-week program?
Yeah, because it would be $15 an hour. And then it would be 2 hours a week. So 30 times 8, it would be the 240. Yeah.
And you said, would that be 3 children within that
It's a-
240?
Well, it depends on the topic. For example, if we have like Lydia's son, Daniel. So if he needed some help, his is a little bit more difficult as far as like algebra, chemistry, things like that. So it would be a smaller group, where if you were doing like 3rd graders and they needed help reading, you could probably do a little bit bigger group.
Sounds like a great, I mean, even with the paid version, I mean, I'm sure we could get some volunteers. Sounds like a great value,
Absolutely.
especially if we could get, some funding from the community and the foundation.
The tutors are going $60 an hour, so that's
Right.
quite a value.
That's cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's great.
I can tell you from experience.
Poor thing.
Officer
So,
Amy,
yeah.
I'm sorry, if I could just ask one question. How would this be broken up? Would it be like reading tutoring, math tutoring, science? Like, how does that
Well,
break?
We would have to break it into just kind of generic groups to start
Okay.
with: math, reading, writing, things like that, and then we
Okay.
can narrow it down as we go.
Got it.
And I'm sure by age group and grade level, that kind of thing.
Right.
From the childless one, sorry.
You have lots and lots of babies at Ties.
Okay, and Officer Amy, you said if we opted for the paid program, you have people already to go,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
How many
Yes.
people?
I have right now 4, and there's one extra. She's an adult. She's actually a parent at the school. She's not a college student, but she does have a college degree and she is bilingual.
Okay. And volunteer, do you have volunteers on hand?
Well, there have been people who have said, yes, we're interested, but there's been no logistics put together. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when I go back to the people and I'm like, okay, I need you hardcore, an hour, twice a week for 8 weeks. I don't know how many of them are gonna say, no, it's a little bit too much.
Yeah. I know Commissioner Stratfield, I don't know if I'm saying, Rachel, I don't know if I'm saying her name right. I know that she had expressed interest, and her neighbor as well, to be volunteers. So I have a feeling that if we were to put a call out for volunteer, that we would be able to get maybe a handful of people.
Right. I think we would.
Okay. I think that right now, because
Let me ask a couple of questions, if I might. I'm sorry, dear, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say right now, because students can't even get in. I don't know about you, Lydia, but our students haven't been able to get into the system. I think we still have some time to work out the details. Hopefully by next week they'll be in. That was it, Kevin.
I have experience with in-school volunteering and literacy programs. And creating a volunteer program with a deep commitment is an awful lot of work. It not only has to handle the logistics of pulling that together, but the volunteers need to be trained. The volunteers who may be very willing are not necessarily in sync with the school curriculum or with the methodologies that are being used. It sounds to me like, Officer Amy, if I'm hearing you right, you have a paid program that we can move forward with. The cost is $240 over 8 weeks per student, which is not really tremendously high at all. And I would hate to see the program derailed as a volunteer program is developed. I don't know if that's fair or not, but I kind of think the bird in the hand is the one we should be going for, and that would be the paid volunteers. I don't know how other people are, the paid tutors, I'm sorry. I don't know how other people are feeling about that.
I feel the same way, simply because we just saw that the fact last month, 30 days ago, we spoke about doing something athletic for the children. And we came tonight and had kind of the same conversation because we didn't get it together. So I think whatever we can
Yeah.
do to get it together, that's what we should do for sure.
And Kevin brought up a good point as far as we don't want the people so out of the school system that they're not going to know what is currently being taught or how it's being taught. And that's why the second year college students are very good, because they obviously have not been out of school very long, but they know enough to teach the little ones.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, based on 2 days' experience, if you need a volunteer on estimating numbers in second grade math, I'm your man. Because we couldn't get in either. So I just grabbed the textbook and started writing all over the wall. But it's not an easy thing. People think they show up and they say, oh yeah, let me show you how to write a sentence. And they're not familiar with the ways that the children are learning or where they might be struggling. So I would say postpone. I would say postpone the volunteer program. Let's let the schools settle down. But if you can move ahead with the paid one, I think the city would benefit quickly from that. But I'd like to hear what other people are saying.
I agree with Kevin. I think move ahead with the paid one, because it's not as easy as it sounds. I can't do it. That's why I have a tutor for Daniel. There's no way. We just end up both crying. It doesn't work out. So it's best to, I think, someone who's like Amy said, someone who hasn't been out of school that long, who knows the processes. I mean, the way they teach math now is nowhere near the way I was taught. I can't teach that math.
Yeah,
But it is
I'm all
so
for the
much
paid
better.
program.
Yeah.
Lydia, it is so much better. It is teaching math as a natural language.
Yeah, well, you
I
like
wish they had done this
statistics,
100
so-
years ago.
So Officer
Right.
Amy, what action items do you need from us, or what action items need to happen in order to get the online paid program going?
Chief? I'm not exactly sure.
One more time on that question. I'm sorry, I was preoccupied.
What do we need to get the paid program online tutoring going? Signing up, letting parents know, getting a flyer out, it's going to be happening. I'm
Yeah.
assuming there's a capacity.
Okay, so Amy kind of pushed this my way, huh? Okay, so Amy, we would certainly, obviously, there's protocols for everything. We would have to set up an account to pay the tutors. We'd have to find out how many kids respond. We're going to have to start breaking them into groups, ages, subjects, whatever we decide, grades, bilingual, those that can, only speak Spanish, those that can speak English, and we'll figure all the logistics out. But the funding is there. We got money. Hopefully donations start rolling in to help also to support that. So I think it's messaging, getting the information out to the school, like you mentioned before, and getting the tutors set up. I think it's something we can turn around and do pretty quickly. I would also vet this through our village attorney, just to make sure that we're, if there's any liability issues, that we address that as well. Mario, any other thoughts on that? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But I think it's something we can set up pretty quickly. And like everybody here has mentioned, the school year is off to a really rough start. And the sooner we provide these resources and help these kids, I've spoken to a couple of parents, with their kids saying that their kids are actually on the computer crying because they can't get, whether it's communication or they can't get information on their classes or the subjects. It's a disaster right now. So anything we can do to support the kids here at TIES, the North Bay Village kids, would be a big plus, big bonus to help them out through this challenging period.
I think once we get funding set up, which is going to be our toughest thing, the kids will just roll right in.
Yeah. We can get with Sandra right away and we can figure that out tomorrow, I'm sure. What we have to do is set up the account to pay them. But there are limited resources there. And we got to make sure that we're maximizing the use of those resources.
So Chief, are you saying you have some funds you can use towards that? Am I
Yeah.
understand that?
Yeah, we got youth services funds. It's not something that would really fall under PAL, but we'll have to check and make sure that we cross our T's, dot our I's to make sure we're using the right account and the right funds. But there are monies available. We just have to figure out what account we want to use it from.
And I think the community would want to help as well. So as soon as you get it approved, making donations to the Miami Foundation obviously is tax deductible as well. Just let us know how to side market as far as whether it was PAL tutoring or whatever, so it can be properly routed.
I would strongly suggest that it is called the PAL tutoring program. I think the name matters. And in all of this morass, I don't want people to forget that there is a police athletic league out there. So what I'm hearing, the sense of the board, I don't know if we need a motion, but it sounds like everyone thinks, go ahead with the paid program. We'll talk about the volunteer at some point in the future. And what a great idea. And Amy Suarez, you've once again come up with something original and useful. So, tell your boss to stop just picking on you because you're doing a good job.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy, for all you do.
I know who butters.
Thank you.
I know who butters my bread. Trust me.
Yeah, she makes you look good. You know that.
And that's a secret to this job. Surround yourself with great people.
Okay, wonderful. So online tutoring program paid, it's a go. So let's move on to plans for a services survey. I'm not sure what that is. I thought that was already.
That
We did
was
that
my
earlier.
item. It was a follow-up on last month when we were talking about understanding what services people needed. I now, as of today, know that a survey went out,
Yes.
but when I put that on, I had heard nothing about it. So I saw the email today. It wasn't much of a survey. I mean, 52 respondents, and I didn't see it anywhere.
It was in the
I don't know
newsletter.
how it was done. I haven't seen the newsletter.
It was last week, I believe, or the week before in the newsletter.
And it would have been a little helpful. I would have liked it to be able to be pushed on the Facebook page. I just felt as if that the newsletter, just having to go through one particular angle, was not the best approach.
So we only got 52
Well,
answers, right?
I was around. I wasn't around last week, so that's probably why.
Did
I
we have
missed
to
it,
just
but-
use the newsletter?
No?
I mean, I
We
can
should
also
start promoting
revisit
it.
that as well on social
No,
media.
we did post it on Facebook.
It has not gone on the Facebook page yet. That is certainly something I can do this week as well to continue. To
Yeah,
push it.
if we can continue to push that, just to try to be able to reach people. If you want to send me the link to share that, additionally, send it to the Resident Services Board for them to share it. I just think we have to be able to go, with a multifaceted approach to that.
Absolutely.
I'll help Mallory, for sure.
And it did go out twice. It was also in the school resource e-blast as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Mel, if you want to share me that link, and then we can help to get that out with the commission support.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Also, given what we know from the limited results that we have, has the city moved forward on deciding of what services to be concentrating on in the budget? Because that was the purpose, actually.
We have this as an item actually for the upcoming agenda as well.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like what would be a good thing is to start getting more of this blasted out, and I'll work on that too. On
Correct, yes.
social
As soon as
media.
the more people we can be able to get, that just gives you more ammunition to be able to utilize that. It is item 4C on the agenda when it will be published. So we just want to be able to make sure that I can be able to have as much data to be able to really help us, make these decisions and move forward
Okay.
on.
All right.
Okay, great. And I'm sorry, Kevin, was that with the update on the services position in Village Hall? Did I hear that right? or
Yeah,
was
that was, well, that's a
Okay.
follow-up from last month. I guess all of this should have been old business, but last month, the discussion was held about creating the various resource. I wanted to know how the recruiting, the thoughts for that position were going. Remember, we talked about a services officer and Inga was filling in?
Yeah, I can provide an update. We had Igna, she was our Children's Trust Coordinator, being able to help with that project and those services. But since then, the Children's Trust has reactivated her. So she's full-time working on that. So what we're doing is we're taking a two-pronged approach to it. One is we filed the necessary paperwork with the county government. They have a program of CARES funds for $25 million for cities to put in for services that are not being provided by the county for municipalities. And so we put the funding of that position as part of, I guess, a grant for the county. And congruently, what we'd like to do is part of the discussion on September 8th as part of the workshop is because Amy Henderson moved from an administrative aide to the deputy clerk, the village manager, instead of rehiring an administrative aide, is looking to move those funds into a legislative aide position, which would essentially also help with the servicing position for not only constituent services, but also helping with the rectory as well. So we're trying to see different approaches, how we can fill that, moving as quickly as possible. Sorry. And just to clarify, should we receive the grant, it wouldn't stop the going for the legislative aids. It would, so we would essentially have somebody else that comes in per the grant just on that. And if not, then if we don't get the grant from the county, then the aid position would continue moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kevin, is that satisfactory?
Yeah, it
Okay.
kind of disappoints me. I've been hoping that we would be seeing things like the job description or recruitment plan, the grant request. Those are all things that I think as a board we're very interested in knowing about. So do we have any idea of when the county will begin approving the funding under the CARES Act?
That's a wonderful question. We just had a
Thank you.
meeting with the city managers earlier this afternoon, and they haven't been responding to cities who actually even turned in the memorandum of understanding on the CARES funds. So you had some cities who have already had their commission approve it, have everything signed, submitted everything, even for the 1% part of the CARES Act. Just to give you some more background, not related to here, but the county wants all first responders to have a 1% COVID payment or pay increase.
Right.
And so the cities who are said, okay, let us know when you're going to give us the money. Here's all the paperwork. It's been over a week and they haven't responded to those cities. So I'm not quite sure exactly how long the county will take to respond to the grants. But we are trying to monitor it on a day-to-day basis. And I know those goalposts keep moving on a daily basis from the county and what they're looking for. We are trying to move forward as quickly as we can. I can ask our HR director to put that, the job description and those over for the advisory board to look at. So I can get that and have them forwarded over to you. And then I can ask I don't know if it's our HR director, if it was finance who sent over the paperwork for the grant. I'll ask them to forward that over so that we can get that to you guys and you can read that as well.
Okay, yeah, I would very much like that.
No
Can we
problem.
get that soon though? Or I mean, I don't want to wait another month before we see it.
I would ask them tomorrow, and as soon as I get it, I will have our clerk out to everybody.
Thank you.
I'm going to assume it's part of the commission agenda packet as well, so it shouldn't be too hard for them to come up with it.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we have upcoming events, if any, and a timeline for the resumption of the same. Do we have any upcoming events?
Well, the upcoming event would be for the Halloween event. I know in the budget, the budgets for the various events throughout the year has been reduced to about $5,000 per event. But at this moment, it really depends on what the emergency orders from the county and what they limit when it comes to certain events and groupings. I believe after Labor Day, the county mayor was looking at making several announcements, and I'm hoping some of that would be relaxing some of the rules that will allow us to start getting together as a community again. But I guess it's going to go as however the wind blows for him on that day. So as soon as some of those things are relaxed, then we would be resuming with the events in the limited capacity that we had budget for.
So at this point, we do have the Halloween and presumably the Winter Wonderlands. I forget what we call it, the holiday thing. We have them funded, but we are waiting on direction from the county as to which phase we're in. Am I hearing that right?
Essentially, yes, sir. Again, we're desperately gonna need all of your helps this year, more than ever, because again, the per event right now everything's allocated at $5,000, where some of the events would normally be between $7,500 to $10,000. And so we'll have to find ways to get very creative. I know for the Winter Wonderland, we were looking this year to bring in some kind of ice to make like fake snow for the kids and things like that. The quotes that we received, this was prior to COVID, the quotes that we were receiving were over $4,000 by them just for that. So we'll have to get creative with what we're going to be doing this year. And how we're going to put these events on. They probably won't be exactly like they have been in the past, but I don't think that's really somewhat of an issue. I think it gives us an opportunity to be creative and to collaborate and maybe make things a little bit more community centric, so that we can put something that's going to be meaningful for everybody.
I would just like to suggest that, I mean, I don't see having a Halloween party in Vogel Park, as small as it is and as packed as those events get. I can't see us having the Halloween, our traditional Halloween, let's put it that way. And I think we should maybe try to think outside the box of doing some kind of train, maybe where we go through, whether it's walking or biking, and have candy and dress up, and the kids come out and we pass out candy. Try to think of something we can do festive, and not online, because I think everybody's ready to get off of these Zoom boxes. But that we could think of how to do kind of like a little hospitality or candy train, and let the kids dress up and volunteers dress up and still have some fun for Halloween.
So I attended an amazing event, which was the Outshine Film Festival drive-in, and it was over 500 cars. Obviously, we all kept our social distance because we were in our cars, and it was extremely successful. They had food trucks that actually you ordered via your phone, and they brought the food to you. They didn't even want you going to the food truck. The only reason they wanted you to leave your car was to use the restroom. Everything was brought to you on our way out. I mean, can we do something like that in our community? Can we partner with like Pelican Harbor during, you know, where they have that space, or I don't know, just something along those lines.
That's the hard thing, is we just don't have space.
Hey, boy.
I know.
I can definitely reach out to the Parks Department with Miami-Dade County, who oversees the marina. That's actually an amazing idea. I'm glad you actually brought up Pelican Harbor. Let me reach out to the county department and see if maybe we could do some kind of drive-in. I know Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are not any time to do anything because they're swamped with boaters that want to come in.
Yeah.
But something during the week, maybe a Wednesday, I can talk to them, see how that works, and maybe we might be able to do something. I'm not quite sure how open they are to it because I don't think anybody's ever approached them. So let me reach out to them and see what we can kind of work out with that. Even if it's not a movie or drive-in movie, maybe it's a drive-in concert. So I'll definitely start making phone calls this week.
Mario, and maybe we can kill two birds with one stone, and we can, oh, that's a terrible, I'm sorry. That was like a terrible analogy to kill. I don't want to kill anything, but maybe we can accomplish, sorry, two things.
And you were talking about Pelican Harbor.
You're not getting near Pelican Harbor.
Maybe this can be a fundraiser, you know, like towards the tutoring program, if we need some funding for that. So it's like, go, you know, come out to support your community, have a night out, and also it's going to be helping the students. I know that maybe people would be more motivated to go just because they know that the funds are going towards something. So maybe we can do something like that too.
Okay.
Hey, just another option, right? I got Sam Bihar, the Deputy Chief Bihar here. A couple of months ago, we looked at this possibility. We were looking at a field next to a property next to MODA that the owners offered for us to use. I don't remember specifically the reason. It was after COVID started. It's obviously by the water. It's a big space. We did check it out. And Sam also found a vendor that has a mobile truck that does movies. So I know he did some legwork on this. What I'll have him do is get with Mario, since Mario's looking with, check with the county and just kind of present that kind of research that he did. But I think it was a pretty good option. I don't know why we decided not to at the time. I don't recall specifically, but maybe it was just too, just too risky at the time. But I think we have an option there. If we can contact the property owners again, and they offer that property again for us to use, and we call that vendor who gave us a really good price to put the movies with a mobile truck, big screen, two-sided screen. You can get on either side of it. Maybe that'll work.
Yeah, because I've seen that concerts are happening. They're just people, you stay with your little group and they're social distancing. I mean, it's happening. I mean, my sister-in-law is a teacher. She is in the classroom with students. I mean, it's a private school. So, I mean, I understand, like I've been self-quarantining for the most part, but this is the new reality. So I think that we have to kind of slowly get used to the fact that we're going to have to come out eventually. We can't
He
stay
here's
in.
giving people something to do,
Yeah. And like I said, this drive-in, it was so successful. And it did well for them. I mean, considering it did, it was like $40 a car. They had like 500 cars. So
again, I'll have Sam connect with Mario, see what option is feasible, and maybe pursue that option.
wonderful. Thank you, Chief Noriega.
My pleasure.
Okay, so next we have the update on Freebie and Downtown Express.
So I received a bit of an update today from the manager and our new public works director. They're still trying to work out timing wise with regards to construction. And why is that important? Once the road paving project begins on Harbor Island, we're gonna essentially have to move people from East Drive to West Drive and vice versa, because there's only one way in and one way out. And once that road is completely torn up, there's gonna be a point where people are not gonna be able to kind of drive through. And so the additional parking will be at the old Coletta lot that we were able to secure for the project. So we'll be introducing freebie in order to be able to do that. And as time goes through and construction keeps moving along, then they'll be starting to look at moving on to more of the on-demand service. So it's going to take a little bit of time. Once I have the construction schedule as to when that's going on, I can then forward that over to the advisory board as well, so that you will know when freebie is starting to come back into service. Exactly when will we get to a point where it was before COVID? I don't have that answer for you right now. We'll have to wait to see not only when does construction start, but how it moves along. And if there's, significant delays, that might delay some of the on-demand. So there's a lot of things that happens with construction, but that's the overall general plan for freebie at the moment.
Okay. And we've gotten quite a bit of staff and commission liaison updates, but Commissioner Strout, are there any updates that you'd like to share with us?
Well, one thing honestly was we had the book back tool drive that was very successful. I had a conversation and we have an email that we're going together because there was such a strong amount of people that were interested in it. We're trying to figure out if we can be able to do another one. Right now, we currently do have some backpacks left over, but I still have some residents that are calling me asking, when we can be able to do it on the next one. So I'm just trying to find out, what we can be able to do, and then also within the budget that we have. So I'm going to have a call. I think, Amy, you were on the email as well, I believe.
Yes, I was.
Okay. So Amy was great with us. We had some members from the Optimist Club that were there as well. And you could just see that there were so many families that really appreciated what we were able to offer them for that. So we're going to get that going. We also did a PSA regarding members that have individual special needs, children under the age of 2, and then also those with medical conditions, if they are going to be wearing a mask, just to prepare their businesses to be educated about that, because we did have a couple of residents that were calling us saying they had issues where they had children that were within those guidelines that were still forced, to wear masks, or were told they were no longer able to, get their prescription with a doctor there. We had somebody who was turned away from an eye doctor from getting their prescription filled because they wanted to wear a face shield. Because their son had Down syndrome. So that was very heartbreaking. So we just did a little educational video to help people understand that. And we have a couple of items on the agenda. As I mentioned, the survey, which would be item 4C, to discuss that further and just getting an understanding as to what are the current needs during this pandemic. And I've been continually handing out unemployment forms and trying to help residents with that, working with Senator Pizzo on that initiative too. So I know that we have a couple things in the works. Some things will be on the agenda, and anything else additionally that we discussed regarding even the tutoring, the after school programs, I'll be mentioning that in my report.
Commissioner Strout, can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I just want to give a huge shout out to the Optimist Club. They went above and beyond, not only as a group, but they also came together individually and donated and helped, and even came out to our drive and helped pass out backpacks. So I just want to say thank you so much, Sandra, for always going above and beyond to help us with whatever we need.
You know what? We have such a beautiful community. It's so unique here. It's such a pleasure to be able to support a great commission, a great police department. We appreciate everything you guys do. And it's just a pleasure to be in this situation where we can make a significant difference. So thank you.
No, it was great to have that. So thank you so much for Sandra for doing that. The kids were super excited with what we were able to provide for them. And you could just see that, just simple things like giving them the school supplies, get them a little more confidence, because I know it's going to be tough doing the online learning.
Just a quick side note on the backpacks also. We've been in contact with Art Martineau from the PAL Miami Beach, and they have yet to do their drives. And when they do their drives, it's really massive. And they do open up their doors to North Bay Village. So that's another option for us. If we need additional backpacks, there's a possibility of us piggybacking on that as well. So I'll reach out to him again and see if they have anything scheduled so we can include our kids as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Commissioner Strout, Sandra, you're amazing. Do we have any public comments? Otherwise, I think the time has come. So I will, can I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
Wonderful. So the meeting is adjourned at 8:02 p.m.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.